Thank you very much for the introduction, and absolutely delighted to be here today. Really fantastic event so far, and it's great to see so many people out after sort of a long time being away from COVID. My name is Matthew Lakelin. I'm VP of Scientific Affairs at TrakCel, and today I'm just going to talk about orchestration systems and return on investment for orchestration systems. So I'd give you an introduction to TrakCel, and also really think about what to consider for digitization in these advanced therapy supply chains, and then touch on return on investment, and then a few recommendations at the end of the final slides. Okay, so just a little bit about the company. TrakCel was the first orchestration provider, really focused on providing these very complex software systems, and we have a history of pioneering within the industry. We've been established for about 10 years now. Our system's available in over 100 different advanced therapy treatment centers with hundreds of different healthcare users. And as a business, we've got a mature experience across the whole different types of supply chains, from clinical to commercial, and then also a raft of different types of products too, autologous, allogeneic, personalized cancer vaccines. Over the 10 years, we've seen these different types of therapies, and we've built systems to help manage and orchestrate those types of products. And then also, finally, we have a global presence. And as a business, we don't just provide software, we have support services around provision of software, so helping our customers configure the product for them. And then also around validation support and actually supporting the software when it's live. When we first started the company, we actually called our software TrakCel and the company TrakCel, which caused a few complaints and a few headaches when it came to sort of writing contracts. So last year, we rebranded our software and we call it Accelus, which sort of means I. And really, what we focus on with our software is to manage two core tenets of regulatory compliance when it comes to managing advanced therapies, namely chain of identity management and chain of custody management. And not only sort of managing those, but documenting those throughout the whole supply chain. And then as we built out our platform and as our platform developed, we thought about how we could improve efficiencies within the supply chain. So with that chain of identity knowledge and that chain of custody knowledge, and also being aware of the different units of activity that needed to be executed in order to successfully deliver these products, we thought about how we could harmonize those different partners in those supply chains. So what we do with our software now is we help to coordinate activities between those different groups. We have a scheduler as part of our system, so it allows manufacturers to input capacity information into our software, and it's a very simple tool for those collection sites to actually then identify days when they can take starting material and know that there's going to be manufacturing assets available to process that starting material into a drug product. Also, what's really interesting as well about our product is that it's been built on the Salesforce platform. It allows fantastic scalability. You have the ability from a data residency perspective to choose exactly where you want your servers to be located. It's perhaps a tedious conversation and not for today, but it's very important when you think about data residency, where you actually have those data servers located in order to make sure you're on the side of the angels when it comes to compliance. And also with our product, it's designed to accommodate multiple therapies simultaneously as well. So what you'll see is that a lot of our customers will have a pipeline of different types of therapies with different types of supply chain characteristics, and our software can actually accommodate those different changes and there's different product needs within the platform. So really, it's important for those orchestration systems to be able to manage the whole sort of your whole pipeline in order to really maximize the value of those. And then finally, our software is modular, and it allows you to sort of move through from clinical to commercial and switch between the modules that you actually need. And what we've also focused on with our software is really making this intuitive and easy to use as possible. We sort of recognize that for some of our customers where they have rare diseases, they may have sites that may only be recruiting patients once every 6 months. So you need to have those sort of a really easy, intuitive, user-friendly user interface, so that to those sites that are only logging into the system once every few months can navigate through and make sure that they can get the information they need to sort of get those therapies to patients as quickly as possible. So, as I said before, at TrakCel, we've been tracking cells really for about 10 years now. And we've seen the complexity of the therapies increase over the time as well. It's really challenged us as a business to think about our platform, think about the way in which we deliver our systems. And so, just to give you a flavor of sort of some of the different types of supply chains we've helped to manage. So I'm sure most of you are aware with the sort of the standard autologous model now. But even sort of 10 years ago, we had to think about how we would help manage chain of identity all the way through these supply chains. So ensuring that when a patient's given their drug product, it's been generated from their cells or their starting material from no one else's. Also documenting chain of custody all the way through that supply chain. But then, as I mentioned before, harmonizing activities between those different supply chain partners. And it's not just collection centers, treatment centers, and manufacturers, but also sort of other service providers that you might be using in these supply chains. Some of the most valuable integrations that we have at TrakCel is actually integrations with courier companies and automating the ordering and collection of materials, making sure that when starting material is taken or a drug product is ready, there's a courier there to move it on. Now, that's our standard autologous model. And then we've also worked on at TrakCel matched allogeneic models. And then this again adds a little bit of additional complexity into the supply chain because you've got a patient and a donor to manage. And you may also have being able to demonstrate that the biology, perhaps an HLA match of the patient matches the donor. So being able to find the right donor, and that's something that we've worked on with a variety of different companies to really build out a simple solution for those matched allo products. One of the most interesting projects that I worked on at TrakCel was a personalized cancer vaccine. And again, this is a patient-specific therapy, but the starting material this time was tumor samples, tumor biopsies. And these companies are sort of they're sequencing those tumors and identifying neoantigens. And what was really interesting for us as a business was the interface between physical assets to track and in silico data to track. And so we had to come up with a solution to manage that transition from physical assets into in silico data, and then when those neoantigens were produced into peptides and then into a vaccine, back into those physical assets to track. So that was a really interesting project for us. And then really what we've seen now is sort of probably the most complex supply chain we've worked on to date at TrakCel was a personalized immunotherapy. And I sort of look at this as almost having two separate supply chains to manage, where we're managing starting material, a tumor biopsy starting material, and synthesizing those, identifying those neoantigens. And then once the neoantigens are identified, taking AIF material and then our customers are using ways to actually take those T cells and address neoantigens on a patient-specific basis. So incredibly complex. And really, the point is that if you're going to use an orchestration system, you need to think about the complexity you need to address in your supply chain and also in your sort of portfolio of products that you're using. So when building out the systems and digitizing that supply chain, what we tried to do is we tried to sort of break it down into two parts, first of all. We look at the patient journey and the drug product journey. So think about the information that's required by the treatment team and the patient to get them to the correct place at the correct time to help them receive their therapy. And then we think about the drug product journey, think about the constraints, what's necessary to move the starting material or the drug product. And again, think about what you might need to make sure that it remains within its specifications during its transit. So think about temperature specification, time specification. Most of our customers at TrakCel use fresh-in starting material, so that adds a certain amount of pressure in that sort of at the front end of the supply chain. But once you understand the patient journey and the drug product journey, you can then focus on the data journey. Think about the types of data you need to collect, collate, manage. It's important to get the correct information you need and manage it and share it with those partners. But don't just collect data and analyze data because you should. Collect it and analyze it because you really need to. Because you want to make sure that your system is efficient and as easy to use as possible. Now, what we see for our customers as they move through from sort of their early phase work towards commercial supply, they'll start to think about having other electronic systems in their portfolio, and then also how we might connect them. So, for example, at TrakCel, we work with a middleware system, so that allows us to, rather than build point-to-point integrations with a variety of different e-systems, which can be quite challenging to manage, we have a middleware system which allows a direct connection into TrakCel via a simple platform. But that allows that sort of collection of information associated with sort of ERP, manufacturing information, MES systems, LIM systems. But what this starts to do is it starts to really automate that supply chain and really automate that sharing of data. So again, producing those layers of efficiencies that really you need for commercial supply of those advanced therapies. And what's important really when you're thinking about the sort of movement from clinical to commercial is have a strategy of when you're going to introduce those e-systems to manage those different parts of your supply chain, and then also have a strategy around how you're going to integrate them as well. Typically what will happen is a lot of our customers will start operating those different e-systems independently, and we'll have what we call a swivel chair integration, where you'll just be typing and manually typing information into our orchestration system. But over time, as they're preparing for pivotal studies or for BLAs, that's when they'll start to actually have those integrations in place. But find a time when you integrate because you can, and integrate when you should as well in that supply chain. And now sort of a little bit about return on investment as well. So what we've done over the last year or so, we've sort of collated some anecdotal evidence from different users of our platform. We've sort of put this together to give you an idea of the return on investment that you might actually get from using an orchestration system like TrakCel. So for one of our customers, they had a relatively sort of small first-into-human study. What they found was that when they moved from that sort of first-into-human study into a slightly larger study, they could, by using our orchestration system, they actually reduced their head count, the number of people they needed to manage their supply chain, from 9 to 2. So a very, very simple sort of demonstration there of actually decreasing the number of people you need in your supply chain to manage the patients as they go through. Another example, this was actually the personalized cancer vaccine, incredibly complex supply chain, but by introducing Ocellus to manage that supply chain, it decreased the number of emails and communications that they needed to have with their supply chain partners from 200 down to about 4. That was 200 communications for each patient treated. So you can understand that it's going to really help with your supply chain and reduce the administrative burden of those products. One thing that was really exciting actually was decreasing deviations as well. Supply chain related deviations went from 10% down to 2%. Within our system, we can be very prescriptive with how data is completed and making sure that the supply chain is managed in a compliant way and you can demonstrate compliance. So that's fantastic sort of demonstration, really pushing down supply chain related deviations. And then finally, we had a sort of a view of reducing scheduling as well. Because of that sort of automated scheduler that Ocellus offers, schedules for advanced therapies tend to be in flux with patients changing, dates changing, manufacturing assets changing. So actually taking down scheduling effort from 8 hours down to about 40 minutes per patient. And so finally, our automated notifications as well in the whole system saved about 40 hours for a different group. So when we sort of put that together and worked that into a sort of a full-time equivalent model, we calculated that somewhere between sort of, if you're sort of treating about 50 patients a year, it comes into a sort of a saving about 125,000 US dollars a year. But that actually includes the cost of acquisition of our system and user license too. And then when you move to very large patient populations, perhaps 400 patients a year, almost $1.5 million a year. So it really does demonstrate a cost-effective use of using orchestration systems. So just to final recommendations there, plan a phased introduction for digitization of supply chain, define that patient drug product and data journey, identify those e-systems as early as you can, implement them first and then integrate them, and then also really think about driving forward your efficiencies in the supply chain and think about that sort of return on investment that you can get from using orchestration systems. Here's my contact details, so if you want to speak to me, please send me an email, or I'm at the conference for the rest of the day. Catch up with me and be delighted to speak to you. So thank you very much.